Hi, welcome back to the Everyday Patch. This week my garden has gone through a bit of a change, so my crop plot decided that it was going to fall apart and all the wood came off. So I spent my day rescuing all the crops in there. So this is me going through the crop plot and picking out what I can, carrots, things like that, onions and whatnot. I have speeded up a couple of these videos just because otherwise it would have been a 30-minute long video. So you will notice that it does speed up in a little bit. So these were just my carrots that I was picking out, and I know lots of people say, oh, they don't like being moved, they don't like root disturbance. I often move my carrots. I sow them one big line and then move them around, so I'm not worried about this. These are my spring onions, and like I say, I have speeded up this video just to make time go by a little bit quicker. So I picked out the spring onions and try and getting them in clumps if I can, so that I can just pop them in the little modules so that they'll be happy for the next couple of days. I do apologise if you can hear my kids in the background as well, because as I'm voiceovering my video, they are at the front. They've created a little juice stall, so they're chatting away at the front. And there you go. And these are my beetroots that I'm rescuing out of the crop plot. As you can see, I've already taken some of the wood from around it. So it's just a case of rescuing the plants. And then I obviously moved all the mud. So again with this, I'm just literally just picking them out and then just making a little divot in the module, popping the roots in, and then I gave them a good water after. Obviously because we've been really hot in the UK at the minute. Yesterday we hit 30 degrees. I think it was 33 that actually registered on my phone. So I've been making sure that they've been extra watered while they've gone into the module trays, because obviously they do dry out much faster. But they are looking okay though. I checked on them this morning. So that's most of the beetroots done there. I start grabbing this garlic out now. I've put that in a trough, just with enough soil to cover the roots and the bulb. And then I will be putting these back into the raised bed once I've rebuilt it. I always feel really awkward at bits that I don't need to talk, but it's like, well, you can see that I'm just lifting the onions out. I don't put the trowel in right next to the onion. I tend to do it quite far back and just loosen the soil around it, because as you can see, I can pretty much just grab where all the roots are and that garlic ball and just transfer them over that way. So they get as little root disturbance as possible. But they all look okay. I have been checking on them. And there's the cabbage, which I notice has been bolting anyway in that crop plot. So I'm potentially going to put my brassicas in pots this year, and switch around that idea of, rather than putting the squashes in those big tubs, I think I'm going to put my brassicas in there. Cabbage and broccoli and my kales and things. And these are just little nasturtiums, so I just pop them in their own little module just to keep them safe for the time being. I did a little bit of weeding while I was there, which was one of the benefits to doing this. And these are the white onions that were at the back near the carrots. So I tried to get them in 3s or 4s, because I try and multi-sow them. As you can see, I am just using the soil from the bed to fill up these module trays. I'm not using compost or anything like that. I'm just using the soil that they were in, because that's going to give them the best chance of not just wilting and dying after the transplant. But yeah, this is me just trying to save some of the celery seeds seedlings that were coming up because I had sprinkled celery seedlings down. There was a giant, great big log right next to all the carrots. I was hoping to just be able to pick them up in a nice big clump and put them in, and didn't realise that there was a log next to it. So what I am going to do with these is just straighten them all out so the roots down, and just lie them against the edge of this trough just to keep them sort of in place. And I just sprinkle some soil over the top of them as best I can. Now these bits worked better at the back. I was able to just grab clumps of the carrots and just move them along. And then I would separate them when I put them back into the crock pot. And moving on this celery. Now this is not going to go back into the crock pot because this is last season's anyway. So I'm basically just waiting for it to flower. So what I'm going to do is put that in a container and let it just finish off, and then give the guinea pigs what's left. There's one of the flowers on the top of the biggest one, as you can see. But yeah, they won't be going back in the crock pot because it's just wasting space. I think I'm going to put the squashes in there and some of my tomatoes. I'm just filling that up with a bit more soil there, just to make sure them roots are covered. And then it's just moving all this soil, which is harder than it seems in 30-degree heat. All done, and use the flexi buckets from an old pool to put all the soil in. Absolutely knackered, sweating, even in part shade. Oh, now this is me cutting down the rotted parts of the wood. It's basically old decking. Now I'm not a carpenter, so please don't come at me. I know that this is not the best way I could have done this, but it got done. I will have to invest in a jigsaw or some sort of circular saw, but the job got done. It fit. It fits in the gap where I measured it, so that's fine. Now I measured these to where to put the pilot holes for where there was already holes on the other piece of wood. So they're not exactly even, it's just where the other holes were, so I didn't have to drill more pilot holes than needed. And again, don't come at me. I'm not a carpenter, I'm not a builder. I've taught myself how to use these tools. It does the job, it works. And this is the point where I wish I had 3 hands, but I had to use my composter instead. It's all good being able to do these things until you can't hold multiple items to be able to get it in right. So what I tend to do is screw them into, make sure that they're into the top bit for a bit more stability, and then line it up properly. But it did get trickier as the base went on, because then I had more pieces to contend with, and to think about not breaking that end as I was doing this end. And it was definitely a 2-person job, I think, but I managed to do it. We got there. Again, I'm just screwing it in so it's into that top piece first. And I nearly knocked the camera over. So after a lot of faffing and a lot of hard work and sweat and sometimes stress, we did get it finished. We got 2 layers done with the decking there, and some batons in between just to try and help keep it together. In the next video, what I am going to do is show you the lining and filling and what's going in the planter. Here is the finished product. I hope you all have a lovely day, and I will catch you in the next one. See you later. Bye.